The tension that I feel with teacher research, or actually with teaching the course about teacher research, is trying to instill that notion that this is a process that good teachers do all the time, and that it's not a paper that you finish at the end of a course. But it's a balance that I play because you do have a paper to finish, and it's easy for me to say because I don't have the same paper that you have to write. So I decided to enlist two wonderful teacher researchers to talk to me about that. One person you'll hear from is Frankie Siberson, and she works in Dublin, Ohio. Frankie is the author of Beyond Leveled Books, Still Learning to Read, Day-to-Day Assessment in the Reading Workshop, and some amazing DVDs, Bringing Reading to Life, which I personally think are the best DVDs on reading that there are, Making the Most of News Magazines. She's a regular contributor to Choice Literacy, and she's the founder and co-contributor of the award-winning blog, A Year of Reading. You'll see also Susie Kabak. I went to graduate school with Susie at the University of Maine. She's an assistant professor at St. Catherine's University in Minneapolis. She's the author of the Back to School book by Scholastic and is a regular contributor to Choice Literacy. She's also the author of the article that you recently read titled The Draw Reader Test. So we welcome Frankie and Susie as they most thoughtfully answered my question about instilling this sense of process into my students.
Your students do have this different obligation in their projects because they need to meet this deadline that you've set, and they're trained to think about their grade, and they want, as a teacher doing classroom research, the deadlines are usually much more fluid. You're setting your own agenda.
Hard for me to separate classroom research from the day-to-day life in the classroom. I've been teaching for 23 years, and it seems that teaching is research. So much of my day is about figuring out kids and, having burning questions about how to move a kid forward, how best to set up the classroom, how to run a routine, that there's these constant questions in my head that I'm constantly working out and finding evidence to support or negate. For the last 20 or so years of my teaching, I've presented and written and done a lot of that kind of professional stuff because it really does help me be a teacher researcher.
I'm quite a task-oriented person myself, and I like to have that final product. And when I do classroom research, I feel pretty obligated to come up with something usable. The tensions that I feel in my teaching that I then explore through classroom research, I feel like will be tensions that other teachers face. And so I have a pretty keen awareness that the work I'm doing will eventually hit a wider audience.
I'm always asking myself big questions. Like right now, I'm in a new job as a teacher librarian, and that job is new for me. So I've got lots of big questions, but I find myself, I've kind of taught myself how to focus in on one thing. This year, I'm really focusing in on 21st century skills. I'm really working at getting kids to be independent and owning their learning. So I find that one big question for me throughout the year is really helpful in terms of moving myself forward. But then the day-to-day work is just all research, I guess. There's no minute of my day I can think of where I'm not trying to figure something out.
Susie is so thoughtful about how she organizes those big teaching tensions, and Frankie, too, has learned to be more focused with her big questions, and I think that's really important to know.
But I always have this idea that I'm going to take it to a larger audience through writing, through a conference presentation, through an in-service opportunity in my school or in my district. I do focus on that end and wanting to have some things tied up at the end. I see that impulse that students have in a course playing out to a certain extent in the classroom too. And if I'm going to take time to gather data in my class and enlist students to help me gather the data and spend time out of class analyzing and deciding how what I'm learning is going to influence the way I teach, then I want that time to result in something pretty tangible.
It's so embedded in everything that I do that it's not anything separate. To me, teaching is classroom research. To me, every decision I make, every interaction I have with a child, every interaction I observe that a child's having with somebody else, every comment a child makes, every routine that works, every lesson that fails, that all kind of feeds into what I understand and what I'm going to do next in terms of my teaching.
And I think Susie really summed it up nicely that she does have a purpose for her and goals in mind for sharing what she does with a larger audience, and that Frankie, her teaching is her research and her research is her teaching, and those two are so infused. Thank you so much for talking with me, Frankie and Susie. I just feel so passionate about this work, and I want my students to understand that teacher research should be infused into their teaching lives and that it isn't just something that they finish at the end of the semester, but I want them to go on and keep doing it. So thank you so much.